Good morning, YouTube. It is August 30th, 2019, and these are your morning announcements. I am heading into work. Last night I was in San's live stream, which was fun. San, I hope you do that more. I liked sitting outside by the light of your lantern. It kind of symbolizes to me what our friendship is, and that is a light in the dark. You know, this sisterhood that we have, and brotherhood, there's brothers in there too, is it's special, and I really enjoyed myself, and I apologize that I had to leave out of there so quickly, but we had gotten some news that kind of rocked me to the core, and I needed to step away from the computer for a minute. So I'm not going to get into too much detail because I want to protect the identity of the person I'm about to talk about. But here's what happened. A really, really good family friend, okay, somebody who's very special to us, somebody who spends holidays with us because she's so special, both her and her father. They don't have any family here in Milwaukee, so we kind of adopted them. Well, my friend, who also happens to be Rick's boss, wasn't always Rick's boss, just recently kind of became Rick's boss. Before that, she was his co-worker, and they're very, very close, as am I with her. Anyways, she texted Rick and said, "I think my dad is dead." So Rick, of course, was like, can I have a few more details? What are you talking about? Apparently, now, our friend works with Rick at work, but she also teaches yoga after work. And her father would often come to her class. But he wasn't there. So she was like, I wonder why he didn't come. So she tried calling him. No answer. Now she's getting worried, so she jumps in her car. She goes over to his condo, lets herself in, and finds him in the bedroom, face down on the floor. Clearly no longer with us. Fortunately, one of the people who's in our circle of friends is a former cop. And when she sent out that text, she wasn't just sending it to Rick. She was sending it to several different people at the same time. And so they, a whole bunch of people got this text. And one of our friends is a former Milwaukee police officer, and as soon as she read the text, she's like, "Where are you? I'm coming." So my friend gave her the address. She went over there and kind of helped her through the situation, stayed with her until the police came and the coroner, and that process took quite a while. Another friend of ours, who is also a co-worker of Rick's, her husband is an EMT, and he was one of the people who was dispatched to the scene. And based on what he understands from the coroner, her father passed away about 4 days ago. So as you can imagine, not only does she probably have the guilt of not talking to her father every day on her shoulders, but she's also gonna have that visual stuck in her head probably for the rest of her life. And that I find the saddest of all these things. I mean, her father was old. He had lived a long life, and it was a good life, and he's now been reunited with her mother and her brother, who passed away. He was very young when he passed away. Very sad. He passed away alone in St. Louis because her family, she has family down in St. Louis, and he lived down in St. Louis, and he passed away all by himself. He wasn't found for several days. So like after that happened, my friend and her father had this agreement that they would text each other daily, and at first, in that first year that, after her brother passed away, they did that all the time. But, as time progresses and you get a little bit less worried about that kind of thing, and you get a little bit more comfortable with life, that texting or calling everyday thing kind of went to the wayside. So it wasn't unusual for her to not hear from him for a couple days. But I'm sure that this is just like, oh, I should have texted him every day. You know how it goes. So please keep my friend in your prayers. I mean, all you have to say to God is, please be with Rachel's friend who just lost her father. God's going to know who you're talking about. You don't need to know her name or his name or anything like that. But please just keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Rick and I will do whatever we need to do to help her. And I hope she's okay, because now she's by herself. I mean, that makes me so sad. She's by herself without any family here in Milwaukee. We're her family, but she had a close family. It wasn't like they weren't close. They were very close. And now, that closeness that she once had is gone, and I just want her to be okay. So we're going to try to keep her occupied and let her know that she's not alone, because she's not. But if you could pray for her, I'd appreciate that. I really would. She's a really, really good person. She's probably one of our best friends. And so thanks in advance. I also wanted to talk about, I've noticed now on several channels, I mean, like across the board, out of all the people that I watch, and I watch a lot of videos on YouTube, okay, I am seeing the word narcissist pop up all over the place with so many of my friends. It's like there's something in the air that's making everybody talk about narcissism. It's wild. And a lot of these people aren't even connected to one another, not at all. Completely different groups of people. And it's like, why is everyone talking about this? This is wild. And I don't know if there's just a lot more narcissistic people all of a sudden, or if we're having some sort of shift in our mental state and we're just all, there's something going on with the collective consciousness of the world. I don't know, but everybody's talking about it. And, narcissists are people who get off. They literally get off on manipulating people. And they get off on their ego, their vanity. To the point where they, they often have to lie in order to preserve this idealistic self-image that they have of themselves. And I think that we all run into narcissists. We all do. You know, everybody's had some experience with a narcissist, even if you didn't realize it. If you had somebody that was manipulating you emotionally to gain control over you so that you could further their self-image, then you've dealt with a narcissist. I've had plenty in my life, you know, to the point where I got very good at the signs of telling when somebody is lying. I'm very good at detecting that. I had to learn how to be a good detective when I worked at one of my previous jobs, the one that I was at for 20 years, because people tried very hard to manipulate me because they were trying to get out of having to do something, you know, because they're, you know, I worked for the Wisconsin Vehicle Inspection Program. We did emissions testing, and if your car didn't pass emissions, you had to get your car to the point where it could pass emissions. And sometimes we would have like a hardship clause, so to speak, where extremely poor people were giving a little extension of time to get their stuff in order so that they could, you know, pass the emissions test. And we had to become very good detectives to determine whether or not they met that clause. And so I had lies bombarded at me on the daily. And we were very fortunate, at least I was, because I was able to take a class through Homeland Security that taught me how to tell when people were lying, and they also taught me how to determine whether or not a bill of money was counterfeit. Because at that time, there were China through North Korea was flooding our country with counterfeit bills that were so dead on that even one of those magic pens that lets you know if something's counterfeit or not, they didn't work. So, but there were little telltale signs, and we had to learn about this stuff because we were taking in lots of money. So anyway, Homeland Security, from what I remember, and this was years ago that I took this class, but they taught us to look for nonverbal cues that something was going on that wasn't true. Like if you say, "I love cats," you see how I'm shaking my head no, but I'm saying I love cats? That is a disconnect that we would look for. We'd also look for, when you would ask them questions, whether or not they were looking up and to the left or up and to the right, after we determined if they were left-handed or right-handed. Because right-handed people look up and to the left when they're recalling a memory. They look up and to the right when they're creating a memory. So that's something that you can look for. People also have the tendency to hide their mouth or hide their eyes when they lie. So they might be like, "Oh, let me tell you about this situation," and cover their eyes and start talking. So that's something that you can look for. They also do a lot of self-grooming, where as they're telling you a story, they are playing with their hair, or they're touching their face, or they're touching their arms. You know, they do a lot of self-comforting grooming because they know that they're lying and they can't help themselves. They swallow hard before they answer a question, or swallow a lot while they're telling a story. They'll often be scratching at their face, scratching at their nose, scratching at their chin, you know, touching their lips, rubbing their head. It's all self-stimulation to help you through the fact that you're, you know, subconsciously help you through the fact that you're lying. So that's stuff to look for. Yeah, that's pretty much all that I can remember from that. But those are things to look for. I mean, if you meet somebody and you're like, "Hey, this person is cool, you know, they're really exciting, they're talking about themselves, they're They've got all these great stories, and they just seem to be larger than life. If it seems like they're larger than life, then they probably are larger than life, and you should probably really pay close attention to what is it that they're trying to get out of you. Are they trying to get self-gratification by telling you a story that gives them kind of like an ego boost because you're reacting to it, you know? That's what I do anyways. I look for these things. I'm tainted because of this past job that I had. I am constantly looking for lies, and it's just built into me now, and I can't stop myself. So I'm highly suspicious of people almost right from the get-go, and that's sad. I mean, it's sad that I have to be that way, but once a person earns my trust, they have it, you know. And yeah, so there you go. So anyways, I've talked long enough, you guys. These have been your morning announcements. I am Rachel. I love you guys. I hope you have a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all again soon, probably as early as tomorrow. So take care, everybody. All right, bye-bye.